And so white people, when you say you're white, it's inherent that you're going to participate in the organized oppression of others. The organized oppression, that you're going to agree that I'm willing to go along with this general understanding that I will be fed, and that white people we taken care of. And when we see blacks and others suffering, and they're trying to figure out, why am I suffering, we'll be quiet. But we know that the answer is because this is made for us, and we maintain it for us. America had a secret. America had the support of France when it first became a free country, but France did not know that America was mistreating its human beings, particularly African Americans, in the manner in which it was. To this very day, the rest of the world, the international world, does not know and is not fully informed of the specific tactics and philosophy that white Americans have, and the mistreatment and the going backwards on Renaissance and Enlightenment philosophies and social revelations, and becoming better people and living in a more perfect world, is that these white racist people secretly do not subscribe to those beliefs. They subscribe to racism and slavery. It's anti-Christian. It's anti-religion. It's anti-decent. And it's very sick and dangerous. And it's the core reason behind Republicans being willing to destroy the earth and pollute the earth, and destroy and pollute our democracy, the Congress, to tie up our financial and every other part of our society. But why? And anyone looking would say, what is behind these people's ideas? It comes from slavery, and I call it, as with Miss Carla Williams Nambundiri referred to it, as a slaveocracy. And they have to lie to the next white kids, because they can't tell the next little white children that this is exactly what happened. This is how we brutalize black people. This is how we intimidate black people. This is how we terrorize black people. This is how we maintain our position in the world, is through these tactics. And they have to modernize themselves and evolve into a more civil, quote unquote, civil and decent world. But it's a very tricky job. It's a very tricky job to try to pose yourself as decent and Christian when you truly are trying to maintain slavery. So it's anti-intellectual. And they violate all the Americans who did live, who fought in all of the wars, World War I, World War II, all of the poor Americans from all the classic poor cities, Philadelphia, New York, Cleveland, Ohio, Michigan, all the Americans who believed in the American dream and wanted to make America a peace and loving place. All of them fallen soldiers have been sabotaged and undermined, and their efforts have been minimized and overlooked, and their deaths are meaningless in the eye of these people having the abilities to create an anti-democratic society. And in this society where he reigns supreme, he can molest us, he can rape our daughters, he can imprison us, he can starve us, he can create our cities in ways that are not fit for us. And then he tries to lie and tries to sell himself as being a policeman. No, they are not policemen, and no, they have no authority. If you have authority that is vested in corruption, if your authority was afforded to you by, step up here and come behind me. If your authority was granted to you through ill means, then that authority is not to be respected. And the police who are brutally killing unarmed black men and secretly laughing about it, they are not true police. In my opinion, those people can be arrested on the spot, their uniforms can be taken off, their guns and badges can be taken from them, and we could put them in their own police cars and arrest their asses ourselves. and real Irish people who used to suffer and starve in Ireland, they would not support racist police officers beating poor people. That is not the essence of what an Irishman is. My mother is part Irish, and my godmother, my grandmother, Ida Olsen, is Scottish. And I can affirmatively say that that is not an Irish people that I know. That is not true to say and to associate any shamrock or any history of Ireland with any racist history, because they were the first slaves in Britain and they feel the first pain of being overlooked. So the true criminal is these people who try to sell themselves off as authoritative figures, who try to sell themselves off as leaders when they are really deceivers, the true traitors. Which brings me to the black church, which is a topic that many people would want to say, hey, you better bite your tongue, you better hold your tongue on that one, you know. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do it. And as I said at the beginning of this speech was also supposed to be, and was intended to be, in front of Allen Temple Baptist Church, because this is an announcement to all of the people who claim to say that they represent black people. How could you say you represent black people when my own children go to church and they are not told and helped with their schoolwork about how to be citizens, about how to participate in a democracy, about the history of their race in America, about what they can do, what they can empower themselves, what that means for us today? How could we regroup ourselves and redefine ourselves and uplift ourselves given our history in today's? And is there any residual effects of what did occur in history which we would need to be aware of, which could be hindering us and dampening our abilities to aspire to our greatest abilities at this moment? And the answer to all those questions is yes, 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 and yes. So if you want to represent a black person, if you want to represent a young black man, and you're not telling him nothing about the history of America, and you don't tell him nothing about his right to be a citizen and how those rights to be a citizen were taken, and what the power of a citizen is, what the intention of a democracy is, and the intention of the democracy is to create a civilization that you can live and aspire in. If you don't inform this man of that and associate to his particular, then you are no friend of the black man. You have no business talking to a young black man, period. And if you belong in Omega Kappa Alpha, Omega Psi Phi Kappa Alpha, Kappa Alpha, Kappa Alpha, and you say you represent young black people, if you ain't trying to help young black people get free, if all you trying to do is secure yourself a position, making $170,000 with full benefits, walking around with pearls on and suits on, and all you doing is assisting the white man in controlling and regulating your brother and not aspiring your brother, which is the true tenets of the fraternity and sorority, is to help your brothers and sisters, that's not what you're doing. So once again, you're fired. The achievement gap is not a mystery. How the achievement gap, when education is not a mystery. When public education first became a law in New York, because the kids were running rampant in the street because industrialization took their parents away from the homes and put them into the factories. They brought all the people from the suburbs into the cities to work in the factories, and then the parents didn't have no way to support monitor their kids, so they had public school. When they decided to have public school, that's when they watered down education. They didn't want to teach poor people how their parents working in factories can get an education. And it moves on down to, they don't want to tell black people how to get free and what has been assailed to them in this democracy. Why would they want to do anything like that? All they want to do is control and contain, not empower and educate, not empower and educate. Because if they'd empower and educate, then they would find that they're corrupt, that they're the reason. These current administrators are the cause of the problem. They prevent us from aspiring. That's another story. And the last thing I want to say in this here documentary right here is this here. You can get a little bit of the lake around me when I say this. Actually, get a little bit of focus in around the lake one time, and then come back to me. Tell me when you come back to me, and I'm gonna say this last part. You ready?
Yep.
You try to say you white, and you try to say you made something. But my grandmother, Ida Olson, committed suicide in San Francisco because her husband, George Longadikis, impressed upon my mama and her 3 sisters that they must be racist. And all of them went with men of color. Growing up in Oakland, I know that loving white women have been beaten and terrorized and killed for what white men have done. And the malicious resentment and violence they put in black people who've been overly exposed to it in the South and migrated west. I've been mobbed on for being white, and I've been called white my whole life. I guess I'm white. I want you to know, man, you didn't do me no favors, man. This white shit you got going, man, it's the sickest shit ever created in the history of mankind, cuz. You know? And don't tell me I'm white, man, cuz me and you got an issue, man, cuz everywhere I go, motherfuckers want to kill me for what you did, nigga. I'm white. You know what you're saying, man? You know what you're saying when you say I'm white, man? You're saying I don't love my wife. You're saying I don't love my kids. You're saying I'm not a brother. You're saying a lot of bad things about me, man. I got a problem with you, bruh. Me and you got a problem, man. And it ain't gonna go away. You know, my son likes peace. So I gotta hide it from him, man. Cause me and you ain't gonna have no motherfucking peace, bruh.